What's going on, everybody? You're listening to the Point2Point NHL Recap Show, Season 2, Episode 23. I'm Pascal Pryor, joined by Mark Haverlack, and today we got a busy episode. We got the OV goal chase, the wild card races are starting to you're starting to see the bigger picture a bit more, and NCAA signings have officially opened up now, so we're going to be talking about that a bit too on this podcast. But before we get into all of that, Mark, how are you feeling, man?
Dude, pretty good, man. Habs have been buzzing the last couple games. Big comeback win a couple days ago. You were at a OHL playoff game a couple days ago, too. How'd you like that? I was at one a couple days ago.
Yeah, I was at the Flint Kitchener Rangers game, too. Dude, it was electric, man.
Was that the game where the guy, flicked it in from the red line? The goalie, mishandled it?
Yeah, he completely mishandled it. Honestly, it was a blowout win for the Rangers. I think it was 6-1 or 5-1, but the game, it was still a very good game for a blow because we were sitting rinkside, right on the boards on the glass there, right? So in a game that was sort of getting out of hand, you had the players just running around trying to take each other's heads off. I have no clue what the total penalty minutes in that game was, but I think it's got to be close to 200. They were handing out 10
Really?
Dude, they were handing out 10 minutes to everybody. Because in the OHL, they don't want you fighting, right? So every time there would be a scrum, dude, there's at least two guys getting a 10-minute. So I think in the third period alone, there's probably 7 guys in the third period that got 10-minute misconducts. And then in the second, there was a couple, right? So it's between the 10-minute misconducts and just the 2-minute penalties, I think it was probably close to 200 minutes and penalty minutes in that game. But yeah, it was a bunch of fun, man. I know you were at the Brampton
Oshawa game. How was that? Dude, honestly, man, it was probably debatably the best OHL game I've been to. I would say 7-5 final, really back and forth. Steelheads are up 3-1, 3-3 after 2, ends up 7-5. It's got super feisty, dude. Dude, I honestly think there was 500 or 600 Generals fans that traveled. They had basically the whole section behind their bench, and they had those fucking kettlebells and whatever when they were scoring. It was a pretty electric game, to be honest with you. A lot of good talent playing too. That could be in the NHL pretty soon. But honestly, man, that series I think is going to get super feisty. It was Zidlicki got cross-checked in the throat near the end of the game, and then they called 2 separate 2-minute penalties on the guy instead of giving him a 5. It was really weird, but I mean it's going to be a really intense finish, and they're two really good teams, dude. I'm so surprised that Oshawa finished as the 4 seed, man. If you look up and down their roster, they got a bunch of guys that are super talented and could be in the NHL soon.
Yeah, for sure. Both those teams have a lot of talent. They also have a lot of size on those teams with some of their talent. Richie's a big boy. Mortone, of course, he's on the
Seneca's big too, dude.
Seneca's pretty big, so I could definitely see that series getting a little feisty. Let's get right into the big news though from around the NHL. We're gonna start off with the Alex Ovechkin goal chase. The number, it's now down to 3 for Ovechkin to break the NHL all-time goals record, and he has 7 games remaining on the season to do so. Mark, here's the big question: will he break the record this year? And if so, what game do you think he breaks it in?
I was actually wondering if you want to do a little friendly wager on this.
I'm always down.
Me and you, I think first of all, it makes more sense. Do you think he's breaking it this year? Because I do.
7 games left for 3 goals. Dude, he could get 3 goals in their next game. Dude, they play Chicago tomorrow. Let's be real.
Dude, they've got Columbus twice. They've got the Islanders twice. The Penguins, the Hurricanes. I think that he for sure could break it. All right, I say let's do this. You pick one game. I pick one game. I'll give you a first pick. And I don't know, we'll do a friendly wager on a freaking Cheezus pizza or something like that if one of us get it right.
I'm down for that. Shout out to Cheezus. This is not an official promo, but it's just the best thing in Waterloo. On my first pick, I'm going to go with the Chicago Blackhawks versus Washington Capitals game.
Holy, you think he's doing it that fast? Okay. After last night, dude, I honestly kind of hope he does it against Carolina. Did you see that game last night?
No, I didn't watch it. I was going to watch it, but the guy I'm playing in fantasy this week has Freddie Anderson, and I saw it was 2-0 at the halfway through the first for Carolina. I was like, man, I can't watch this dude. My whole fantasy season relies on.
So there was 110 minutes 114 minutes in penalties in the last 10 minutes of the game. It was super feisty. Chatfield fought McMichael. That was kind of a weird takedown. I don't know if you saw that. He kind of ripped him to the ground. McMichael almost hit his head on the ice. So I think that's going to be an intense game. Honestly, I'm going to go with Carolina just for the chaos. So you got Chicago, I got Carolina. If that doesn't hit, then whatever. But I mean, 3 goals in 3 games I'm going with. You think he's getting a Hattie next game?
Yeah, I could see it, dude. It's a good.
I mean, it's possible, but
it's an original 6 team, man. Like, you know, they're probably gonna be packing the building in Chicago for that, even though their team's not been great. It's like it's a one thing over the past.
No, they're in Washington tomorrow, dude.
Well, I guess they are in Washington, yeah. So even better, you know, you're at home. I could definitely see it happening. I think it's gonna happen within the next 3 games. To be honest, I just think the story of against an original 6 team, getting the hat trick, and like Chicago's a brutal team, man. Like I think it is.
Oh, it's very possible it could happen,
especially after they just got blowout against the Hurricanes. Like, you know, that's going to be sort of a bounce back game for the overall team as well, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned that Jalen Chatfield fight. So you saw the fight and the takedown that he had.
Yeah.
Right? Do you think that's a suspension or no? Because I've seen a lot of stuff online saying like that should be a suspension and should not be in the NHL. Because the whole thing was he put his foot in behind the other guy's foot to trip him over it, right? Which is like kind of like a UFC takedown, which
it's almost like some sort of like, not really, but it's kind of like slew footing, but in a different way too. Like, but I don't know, man. I'm kind of right on the edge. Like, I think if he's not suspended, he definitely deserves to be fined and being like, dude, like this is not fucking acceptable. I just don't know if a suspension is really, like, is it weird to say it's not necessary because McMichael's not like really hurt? Or do you think they should just be like, no, fuck that? Like, he could have gotten so hurt from this, like, he should be suspended. I
think that's the way they should look at it. When you look at a hockey fight has always been, it's always been like a boxing match, right? Like, you're not really doing takedowns. I think the fact that you have a guy it was so blatant too, right? Like, you all knew what he was doing. It wasn't like he just kind of did this by accident, right? Like, the fact that you have a guy doing that to do like a UFC style takedown, I think the NHL should be looking at that, especially with playoffs right around the corner where you're going to have a lot more fights, and be like, yeah, like we don't want this as part of the game. Let's really crack down on it, right? And when I say crack down, I'm not saying give the guy a 5-game suspension, but I'm saying definitely give him 1 game. Give him 1 game. We're at the end of
I feel like if you do more than 1, it's kind of...
Yeah.
Like, I think without an injury, it's kind of a bit excessive. More than 1, I'd be totally fine with him getting 1. And then also, it's like, dude, you're going to get him back for when they play the Caps again next week. You know what I mean? So someone's going to be... Tom Wilson might freaking go after him or something, right? And to be honest, I was kind of surprised. Like, Jalen Chatfield is a very... He's a super solid, like, bigger defenseman who's pretty physical, too. It's just weird to me that he wouldn't kind of try to chuck him with a guy who's smaller and more of a prototypical like playmaker and McMichael. You know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of weird to me. If the roles were kind of reversed and McMichael did it, I'd be like, okay, maybe this is the way he's trying to get him down to the ground. But like, it's just kind of weird with Chatfield, right? It's just like, he's a bigger dude. He's pretty undercover, like tough too. Like, not a fighter by any means, right? But like, that's his NHL role, and it's just like, I was really surprised to watch that clip. I think I'd be okay with the game, but it doesn't seem like he's getting it.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious to see what other people think, because I know on social media there's been a fair bit of back and forth about that sort of incident there. I want to ask you one more question here about the whole Alex Ovechkin thing. Mark, he's 1 year left on his deal after this season, so his deal goes through until the end of next season. Do you think, though, this could be his last season, depending on how things go?
I want to say no, but I don't know what he's thinking, dude. Because like, he always had said that he wanted to go back to the KHL and play for like a year or two. But like, does he think he can still do that at like 42, 43 and just spend a couple more years here? I think the bigger question is like, I think he obviously realizes like they actually have a chance to win the Stanley Cup again.
Yeah.
Like, right. So and he probably sees how good the team is. Maybe he thinks like almost like even if I start like regressing a bit, like it's like I can play maybe a second line scoring role or something, you know what I mean, and still be like pretty effective with the team, right? So I don't know. I guess it just really depends how much drive he has at this point. Maybe the playoff run will kind of dictate that too. I think the question for me is more, is he playing after next year? I feel like he will come back like next year. But I don't know, man. I think that they got a really solid team, and like they got a pretty solid future too. Especially like Ryan Leonard's coming in. We're going to talk about him in a bit, but like, I don't know. I think he plays next year. I think it's up in the air after his contract's done. I think if he plays after next year, though, I think his eyes are on getting 1,000.
Yeah, which is
not that he is 100% gonna hit it, but like he might be thinking, dude, I can get a fucking 1,000. Like,
even what you said earlier, the whole regression thing. It's like, will he regress next year? You know, and even if he does, he's more of a second line scorer. It's like, man, the guy's fucking. The guy's like pretty much my dad's age, dude. Like, and we're talking about, oh, is he gonna regress and become a second line scorer next year? Like, it's so supernatural what we're seeing, but. Yeah, I think he's for sure coming back to finish out this contract next year. The only reason I was kind of sort of thinking that maybe we could get a surprise retirement is like when he sort of signed his contract, we all thought he was going to be breaking the goal record in the last year of the deal, right? He's kind of ahead of schedule at this. Like, I don't think any of us thought he was going to break the goal record like this early in, right? So. He's probably going to break the goal record this year. His team's the Capitals are good, man. It's like if Ovi breaks the goal record this year and the Washington Capitals win the Stanley Cup, I could see him just calling it there, riding off in the sunset. Like that'd be a player walking out at like the ultimate high in their career. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think if that situation arose, I could probably see him retiring. But I mean, it's hard to get to that point, right? Like, I'd still say it's more or less likely they're winning the cup than they are at this point, even though they are a contender. But I'd say that about basically every team, right? There's just so many teams that are in that like same area of like competitiveness. I feel like that it's like, regardless of their really good season, I still think that. It's like, dude, they're going to be favored in the first round, and then it's like they're going to go up against Carolina. It's like, dude, I don't know. Like, that series could really go either way, like, in my opinion. So it's like there's no guarantee of them going, like, all the way, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I think he's playing next year. Unless they win the cup, I could see him retiring, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm going to go with the same as you. He's coming back next year. He's going to be looking in for 1,000, and hopefully can get another cup here along the way at some point. While we're sort of talking about playoffs, let's talk about the wild card races. We'll start off with the Eastern Conference. There's less than 10 games remaining in the regular season, and the Montreal Canadiens are currently holding on to the last wild card spot in the East with 79 points. It's still a pretty close race, though. The New York Rangers also have 79 points, and the Columbus Blue Jackets have 77 with a game in hand on Montreal and 2 on New York. Mark, do you think this wild card race in the East is going to come down to the final game of the regular season or no?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I think we might even see like a repeat of last year where it's like more than one team on the final day or final couple days trying to get that spot. It just seems like teams aren't really running away with this. Like the Habs went on like a 5-game losing streak, got a couple points out of that, which is probably a good thing. But it's hard to win every game, right? So it's like I feel like there are going to be ups and downs. Maybe some team will take a 3-point lead and then it gets kind of congested back to a point or even tied in the standings. But I just think there's so many teams, man. Like Detroit, I don't think they're making it, but it's like they're 4 points out. Like one win can sway you in a different direction, right? Especially if it is against one of those teams too. So like even the Islanders, I mean, the last 2 losses have really hurt them, right? Because now they're down 5 points and they don't have any games in hand. Like I would pretty much argue that they might be out of the race. Even though Detroit's only 1 point ahead, I actually feel like, fuck, dude, it's like there's 8 games left. Like it's just so hard to make up points. You know what I mean? What do you think? Do you think someone's gonna have it in the bag like on the last day, or do you think it's like legit gonna be like last year where we're waiting for a fucking empty net goal from the Caps to like get in the playoffs?
Dude, I think it's gonna be like last year where it's gonna come down to the last day, the last minute of the game type thing. Because the other thing too that is really intriguing too about this year is that not only is it a tight race, but it's a tight race between three teams, and then as you mentioned, like Detroit's still kind of kicking around there, right? So like we could even see it where you go into the last games of the season. It's like there's three teams still at that point that could make the playoffs depending on what happens, right? Because of course, like right now, Montreal does hold on the wild card spot, even though they're tied points wise with the Rangers. But that's just because they have the one game in hand, right? So if they've both played the same amount of games, I'm pretty sure the Rangers have the tiebreaker.
They do.
So it's like we could see something like that, right? Where it's like I feel like we could see it where it's like three teams on the last day of the NHL regular season could all get in the playoffs, but it's like for Columbus to get in, you need A, B, and C to happen, right? For Montreal to get in, you need A to happen. For the Rangers to win, you need A and B to happen, but for C not to happen, right? Like I could see it like that. Like for me, what it reminds me of is remember playing in hockey tournaments growing up, and for the round robin, it was like because we played with ties in tournaments, right? I don't know if you did as well, but we played in ties. With the whole tie thing, it would sometimes you'd have weird tournaments where it's like, for us to get in, we need this team to win and this team to lose, but to lose by like 2, right? Or we need this team to tie. We need these two teams to tie, and then we need this team to beat the other team, and then we'd get in. To me, for me, this NHL regular season, this Eastern wildcard race really reminds me of like that type of thing where it's like we're gonna see on the last couple of days of the last day of the NHL regular season that all these teams might have a chance to get in, but you'll need a bunch of different circumstances for each team to be able to find their way in the playoffs. But to be honest, I think Montreal's getting in, dude. I'm still. I was going to
ask you that. You still think that it's going to be them? So tonight we play Boston. If we lose, then the Rangers are going to pass us because the Rangers don't play tonight.
I think that's an easy one for you guys, to be honest, man.
They've been struggling, but the thing is, it's like we don't really play well against bad teams sometimes is the thing, right? So, which makes me a bit nervous. If we're talking about like strength of schedule, the Habs, quote unquote, have like the easier schedule between, I would say, like all three teams or four, even 5 teams that are in the hunt there, right? But that's not always a good thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm looking at your guys' schedule right now. You guys play Boston tonight. You guys play Philly, Predators, Red Wings, which will be a very good game, Senators, and then you guys wrap it off with the Leafs, Blackhawks, and Hurricanes. So you guys play a lot of either top-end teams or a lot of like very bottom teams.
Well, I think there's 2 playoff teams in there, and then you got Detroit, who you're fighting with, basically.
Ottawa as well, it would be a playoff.
Right, and Ottawa, too, so 3 playoff teams. Yeah, but if you look at some other schedules, like teams I think the Rangers got a pretty tough schedule. Like, they're playing mostly playoff teams for the rest of the season. So it's tough, though, man. I'm going to be honest with you, dude. If this comes down to, like, we're not making it but through a tiebreaker, I'm going to be pissed. Like, I honestly truly believe if teams are tied in points, they should play another game.
I'd love that, dude.
Like, I don't think the regulation or ROW should fucking matter. Like, it's the same fucking points. Like, I don't give a shit if you lost 82 fucking overtime games. You had 82 points. Like, it doesn't really matter to me. Like, I don't really care about that factor. Like, it kind of takes away from, like, the loser point actually being relevant in the end, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Like, it matters throughout the season until it doesn't in the tiebreaker. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know, man. I think even if it was vice versa, I'd want to see like a game 83, like a head-to-head. Fuck it. Win or go home. Get in the playoffs or you're going home. Like, how intense would that be, dude?
I think that would be the biggest viewed NHL game like ever if they were.
And it's like, who gets home ice? I don't know. Give home ice to whoever was better head-to-head during the season.
I think what you do is you neutral site it. Whoever, because at that point you know who they're like. No, but at that point you know who's gonna be.
Oh, dude, that'd be so funny.
At that point you know who the winner's gonna be playing in the first round, right? So it's like, winners
just go to Washington and play the fucking game.
Played in Washington, dude.
That's actually not a bad idea.
Because it's neutral site, so it's like doesn't really give any team.
You don't really have an advantage for home or away. Fuck, I think so many Habs fans would fly there.
Oh, dude, if I was a Habs fan, I'd look into flying there. But dude, I think the Habs are getting in, man, just based off how much fight this team has, dude. When, like, you look at the 2 games against Florida, the back-to-back that they kind of played there, like both those games, man, bunch of fight, dude. Especially that last one, you're down pretty much the entire game. Suzuki ties it up with, what was it, 9 seconds left, I think?
Yeah, 8 seconds,
yeah. OT, and he scores like 30 seconds of OT. I just think when you look at how you guys have been playing, yeah, you guys have maybe dropped some points here, but you guys have also picked up some points in games that you guys shouldn't be winning. Like, you guys had a lot of comeback wins, dude. The game against Colorado where you guys picked up, yeah, you guys got the loss, but you picked up a point in the shootout. And just, for me, seeing how much fight they have when they're down in games over the past couple weeks and how much they fight to even just get into overtime and at least pick up that extra point, that's just why I think the Montreal Canadiens are going to be the team that...
The one thing that I'm wondering, dude, is I really wonder if that comeback win on Tuesday is really, like, kind of the stepping stone into, like, holy shit, we can fucking do this. And it kind of makes us not go on a run, but, like, you know what I mean? Like, gain some confidence, and maybe it'll be enough for us to actually get in. Because that was electric, dude. We went from not picking up a point to picking up both within, like, 5 minutes, right? And I know it was a pretty lucky tying goal, but, I mean, Suzuki, you could argue, went to the right spot. Like, you know what I mean? If he didn't go to the net, that puck's not going in. And it's like, dude... Our boy Lane Hudson, like I think since the last time we talked, my mind has changed. Like I actually don't even like, no disrespect to the other players and not to be biased, but I'm not even that sure it's relatively close for the Calder right now. No, like after these last 2 games.
If I was a betting man, I wouldn't even bet on Lane because I don't think the money would be worth it. I don't know.
Lane Hudson right now is minus 1,000 to win the Calder, and last week, I think 10 days ago, he was plus 100.
Well, last week we were doing the award show and we were talking about it. And yeah, he was. Celebrini was still the favorite at that point. Like, look at.
Well, I don't think if he's the first rookie in I think a bunch of years to have back-to-back 3-point games. He did it against one of the best teams in the NHL. It seems like he's gonna hit 60 assists. More than likely. And then, honestly, dude, at this point, the way he's playing, he gets 8 points in 8 games. He's hitting 70 points.
Yeah.
Like that's unbelievable, dude. He has as many assists as Makar does this year.
He's probably going to be top 5 or top 7 within points for all NHL defensemen. Like, when was the last time you saw that from a rookie defenseman, right? Yeah.
Do you think it's out of the realm of possibility that, not that it'd be a top 3 vote, but do you think he might get like a 5th, 4th place vote for the Norris?
I could see it, dude. I could see it.
I could too.
The thing that's the most impressive for me, dude, is that, like, you talk about Macklin Celebrini, and yeah, what he's doing is impressive, but he's like, would you argue that Macklin Celebrini at this point in his career is a true number 1 center? I don't think you can make that argument.
No, but I would say he's probably I honestly think, dude, it'd be hard. Like, if he was put onto a legit playoff team right away, I could argue that he could probably go into the playoffs and be a super reliable second line center.
Yeah, I'd say second. I'd say maybe third. I think he's a second.
Yeah, I mean, the inexperience might push him down, but I think that he's super responsible defensively too, and it's like he's got a lot of offensive upside that I would argue he'd probably be the best 3C in the playoffs, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? Like, I think that it's just the inexperience of him being 18, not playing in the playoffs. You might be a bit worried with him coming alone in as your 2C, but I don't think the skill in what he's shown that it wouldn't be up for debate.
See, I think the whole first line center thing, it would be like if you were going into the Stanley Cup Finals tomorrow and your first line center was Macklin Celebrini, how he is right now. Like, I'm not ripping the guy. I think he has an amazing future, but I'm just saying, I just don't think he's not a number 1 center on a Stanley Cup winning team right now. You know what I mean? like.
Yeah, that's fair.
If he's going up in a series against Austin Matthews for 7 games straight, like I think there's a pretty big gap there. Where I think when you look at Lane Hudson, you can make a very good argument that he's a number 1 defenseman right now, and he would be on most teams around the NHL. Like,
I don't think that's out of the possibility. I mean, a lot of teams have probably some different style defensemen that are probably more two-way or defensive, so it might be kind of a little bit up for debate of who you think's more valuable in that aspect. But I mean, I think you could argue most teams he's probably their number 1 defenseman. Like, I would say at least half of the league.
I think at least half the league. Even playoff teams, man. You look at the Toronto Maple Leafs, I think you put Lane Hudson on the Leafs, he's their number 1 defenseman. And that's
on the Leafs?
On the Leafs. And that's a team that's probably going to win the division, dude.
See, I think that's where it gets tricky because, like, Tanev, I'd argue, is their number 1 right now, but it's just so – they play such a different style, right, that it's just, like, so hard to – like, the first team that came to my mind was, like, would you take him as a number 1 over, like, Parayko? Like, man, I know Parayko doesn't put up the points, but it's like he's a fucking monster. He's great defensively. Like, it's like if we were actually saying which one is the number 1, I think that's a kind of a debate, dude. Like, you know what I mean? I think Parayko just brings so much to the table. I know it's not offensive really in assists, but it's like it's also what you need in the playoffs, right? Like,
I can agree with that. I just think that with Hudson and what he brings, it's a lot harder to find that than it is to find what Parayko brings. Like,
yeah,
I think you can find guys like, I think Brendan Carlo, right? Like Brendan Carlo, he's a pretty good shutdown guy. Like, you can find those types of guys, I think, around the league a bit easier than you can find guys that are doing what Lane Hudson's doing, right?
That's pretty true. I just think too, though, like, not that I don't think he's gonna do it, but I just I really don't want to like I don't even want to say Lane Hudson's a top 10 defenseman in the NHL right now because maybe this season, but if we were talking about like overall rankings over like a couple season sample size, it's like, man, I don't know. He's got to do it again. Like, to me, it's just like he can't be a one and done. Like, even last year, I thought Faber was great. I'm like, man, he's got to come out and be super solid again this year, and he is. You know what I mean? Like, most guys probably can be, but like, it's just like I'm not very big on the huge like kind of one and done. You know what I mean? I don't want to like judge him too early, but it's like I think if he starts doing this exact same thing, I don't think you can really like argue that he's not around a top 10 defenseman in the NHL. You know what I mean? If he's putting up like 0.85 points a game or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, I'm all with you on that, man. The guys are stunning. I think they're making the playoffs. Do you think they're getting into, right? Or did you think it was somebody else?
I don't know, dude. I just have this weird feeling about the Rangers, but like the more and more I doubt the Canadians, it's just like it seems like it's just putting me in the other direction where I kind of think they're getting in.
You're just flipping your mind over. Every night when the Canadians are playing, we're texting back and forth. I'm like, man, this team's sick. Why can't my team be like this? I want a Lane Hudson. While we're talking about my shitty team, let's move over to the West and talk about their wild card race. Unlike the East, there's a fair bit of separation now in the wild card race. The St. Louis Blues hold onto the spot with 89 points. Calgary Flames are 7 points back with 2 games in hand, and the Vancouver Canucks are 8 points back with 1 game in hand. Honestly, I'm at the point where I kind of think this wild card race is over. I think the gap for both Vancouver and the Calgary Flames it's a bit too big at this point. When you look at the way St. Louis has been playing, they've been playing pretty good hockey over the last couple weeks or so. So I think St. Louis is getting in. I think they're pretty much a lock at this point to get in, to be honest. They're on a 10-game win streak. Like, come on, get the fuck out of here with that. Mark, would you agree with me in saying though that this wild card race in the Western Conference is just?
Yeah, I think it's done, dude. Yeah. I don't think, man, at this point, I think it's more likely that Minnesota would not make it than St. Louis, the way that they're going. Aren't they tied in points right now?
Yeah, I guess they are tied.
The Wild lost last night to the Rangers, so I mean, I think it's too much points for the Flames or Canucks to kind of come back from at this point. It kind of sucks for you guys that the Blues just were kind of mid all year and then decided to go on this fucking run at the end of the season.
Yep.
I don't think that. I think if anything, it's just going to be change in standings. Instead of like a change in who's actually getting in the playoffs. How do you feel about the Blues, like, in the first round? Like, do you think they have any possibility of beating a Vegas or a Winnipeg?
Yeah, I would. If you asked me a week ago, I would have said no. But that LA Winnipeg game the other night really changed my mind.
I actually believe that the Blues could beat the Jets.
I think so.
I think if we continue to see Binnington the way he is, I think that the Blues could beat the Jets, man. I really do. I don't know about Vegas. I feel like Vegas is not getting talked about enough, like, recently. Like, I think that they went from this team that was kind of not struggling at all because they've been in a firm playoff spot all year, but they were up and down in the Pacific. Now they're kind of, I don't want to say solidified that one spot, but I mean, it's more than likely looking like they're going to take it. And it's like, I just don't think they're getting talked about enough, dude. I think that they're a pretty good team heading into this playoffs. They're going to play a wild card team and then probably Edmonton or LA. Like, I wouldn't be surprised one bit if Vegas is in the conference finals this year.
Yeah. Well,
and I think they could take Minnesota or St. Louis.
I think Vegas is the best in the Pacific, but by a long shot, to be honest. Like, I like LA and Edmonton. Edmonton's a bit of a question mark just because it's like you have McDavid and Draisaitl, right? So it's like, as bad as that team may be playing at one moment, it's like if playoffs come and McDavid and Draisaitl just flip that switch, then you know what I mean? They go on a run like that.
Yeah, no, I get that, but I mean, you got to remember that the last time they played in the playoffs, like, Vegas beat these guys and went all the way to the Cup, and Vegas basically minus Noah Hannafin had the exact same decor. So it's like I can't really doubt that they could Okay, they didn't shut them down. That's not true because I don't know if you remember. I think it was game 1 or 2. Draisaitl had 4 fucking goals in that series in the one game. So it's like you got to contain them. You know what I mean? Yeah. You can't let them get 2 points a game. You got to let them get 1.25 or 1.5. You know what I mean? And that's going to be the real difference. But I think Vegas is one of the better teams to position themselves to beat Edmonton, because I think that, like, 1 through 6, Vegas probably is one of the best decors in the NHL.
Yeah, they're probably got one of the best decors in the NHL, and they got some pretty reliable goaltending too, right? Like, Aiden Hale, he's a Stanley Cup champion, 4 Nations face-off. Like, yeah, he didn't play there, but we're
kind of seeing Jack Eichel at a level that we've kind of expected him to get to as well. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, I think that, and he's also super reliable defensively, right? Like, he doesn't cheat the game at all. He's never cheat the game. And I think that he would embrace that challenge of shutting down McDavid and Draisaitl again. You know what I mean? I think that they made a pretty decent ad with Riley Smith. I really wonder once the playoffs come if he's going to turn it on. He's kind of been a passenger since he's left Vegas. But, dude, I fucking love this Pavel Dorofeyev guy. Yeah. He is a fucking player, dude. And honestly, man, I saw this thing and it was like Vegas let Jonathan Marchessault walk for $5.5 million. And instead, they re-upped Pavel Dorofeyev for 1.8, and Pavel Dorofeyev, I think he's got a couple less points than Marchessault, but he's outscoring him. So it's like they're finding these cheap replacements, you know what I mean, that are working out well for them. And he plays on the power play all the time. I think he's still leading Vegas in goals right now. So I wonder if he's going to come to play in the playoffs too, dude. Like, I think that Vegas is in a pretty good position here. I think I'm gonna have him going to the conference finals, dude. Like, no matter what the matchup is.
Yeah, I like Vegas a lot in the Pacific. I agree with you. I think they're definitely in the best position to go on a run out of every team in the Pacific right now. Let's move on and talk about all these NCAA signings, because there is a lot, and there's a lot of players that we could still see sign. First of all, Mark, just how crazy is it that you almost get like a free agency within or I guess like a free agency, restricted free agency, like within the regular season? Because I remember the NCAA signings always being a thing, but I do not remember it being to the point as what it has been like the last 2-3 years, where it's like you have 20 fucking guys signing over the span of 2 weeks.
Yeah, I just think that teams are taking a risk on like the actual free agents too, right? That are probably done their 4th year, and then they're kind of deciding where to go. And it's like, it's kind of a luxury if you're one of those free agents, because you probably have multiple teams trying to sign you. You get to really pick where you want to go. I to answer your question though, I think it's more that like we've seen guys come out of the NCAA be more NHL ready than we've ever seen. Right? Like, yep. I would argue all year that either Ryan Leonard or Ivan Demidov was probably the best player that was not playing in the NHL.
Yep.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Like there's probably some other names you could throw in there. Like there's a Nikishin, there's this Alex Bump kid playing at Western Michigan, looks pretty fucking nice too for the Flyers. Obviously, I don't think Gabe Perreault's up there, but it's like, dude, you got all these guys that are almost like they might not be quite ready to step in. Like I would argue Gabe Perreault would benefit from a year in the AHL next year, but it's like they're pretty close, dude. Like he could probably stay in the NHL the rest of the season and probably not look out of place. You know what I mean? So I think to answer your question, guys are just more NHL ready than they've ever been. And I think that the NCAA is really like getting them prepared for that. Like with it being a man's league, like Leonard's a force, dude. Like he's a he's probably the next Brady and Matthew Tkachuk. Like let's be honest. Maybe he doesn't have as much upside points wise. I could be wrong about that though too, right? So I think if we're talking specifically about like Ryan Leonard, dude, I think that he's going to make a huge impact for this Caps team, especially in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think it's just because players are becoming so much more NHL ready coming out of the NCAA. And I also think it is partially because we're starting to see that the NCAA is maybe getting a lot more talent than what they were 10, 15 years ago, even maybe 5 years ago. Like I'm looking at a list here of some of the top players like Trey Augustine, Jacob Fowler, they might sign. Of course, Ryan Leonard, he's already signed. You got Isaac Howard. He had a phenomenal season for Michigan State this year. He's sort of up in the air of signing with Tampa. You got the third Hudson brother, Quinn Hudson, right? He's a free agent. I feel like there's probably a lot of people maybe talking about him. But for me, I just think it's the mix of how much talent the NCAA has now playing within their league, and then also that players are a lot more NHL ready coming out of the league. Let's talk about some of the first signings, though, from the players that have signed. The St. Louis Blues, they've signed forward Jimmy Snuggerud. He made his debut earlier this week. Mark, for a playoff team in St. Louis, how big of an ad is this for the Blues going on a playoff run?
I like Jimmy Snuggerud. I think that he could probably play some games, but I'm not quite sure that his impact, at least right now, is going to be super, super impactful. The thing with him was that he decided to stay at school an extra couple seasons to bulk up a bit. His best season was a couple years ago when Minnesota went all the way and he was playing with Nyes and Cooley. Yeah. I think he's another guy where some AHL time would probably benefit him. The problem with the Blues is they don't have a lot of really good depth. So I think that he would probably play a bottom six role, maybe like a third line right wing, if anything, on a playoff run. But I really think that he's not going to play more. I think he's going to be scratched more than he plays in the playoffs, in my opinion.
I'd agree with that, man. I think the other thing, too, is throwing a guy straight into playoffs, too, like, is a whole other... Right? Like, it's one... Because how many games do they have left? About 7 or so, right? So you're getting maybe 7 of those season games, and then you're going to the playoffs. I think, like, that's a lot, man, getting thrown into basically playoff hockey. But, yeah, I think for the Blues, sort of best-case scenario is he's playing third. He's playing somewhere on the third line. You're getting a decent bit of depth scoring from him on a playoff run. I think that sort of would be the best case scenario for.
Like, I think he's kind of a guy where if you threw him in game 1 and he was invisible, he'd be coming out game 2.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with that. Let's move on and talk about the best prospect coming out of the NCAA right now. It's Ryan Leonard. He signed with the Washington Capitals. He was selected 8th overall in the 2023 draft. He made his debut in Boston in front of his Boston College teammates. Mark, I think this is a guy that's going to have a massive impact in the Capitals lineup. What do you think?
I think the same thing, dude. I think that he's going to be a really impactful player. I don't know if like him putting up some points may take a little bit of time, but the thing with him is he has such an impactful style where if he's not even scoring, he's gonna be out there and be really noticeable, right? He's gonna be getting into the thick of things. You don't think that his fucking style, and he's gonna want to play that style more when he sees Buddy up in the lineup, Tom Wilson throwing his fucking body around? Like he's just gonna get right in the mix there, dude. He's been playing with fucking Protus too, dude. Like the guy's a monster. Like yeah. I just think that you could probably get away with putting Ryan Leonard in your top 6. And if he's not producing, he's a fucking extremely effective third liner. Like right off the bat. You know what I mean? So I don't think there's a lose-lose in this situation. If I was coaching this team, I wouldn't even take Ryan Leonard out for a single game probably the rest of the season unless he's showing some fatigue or maybe he's just not looking himself completely and needs a break. But I think this guy's an everyday NHL player even right now. He probably could have signed in the summer and came into the lineup and played every single game for the Caps this year. In my opinion, I think he's that NHL ready. But yeah, I just think you might not see the production out of him right away. I think some of these guys, it takes time. But you never know, dude. When you're playing on a really good team, and you're playing with Strome, who's basically a point per game, and Protus, who's having a career year, who says he can't put up numbers, right? And the thing is, too, is if you give him this little stretch to end the season, the 7-8 games, he might put up 2 points. You know what I mean? But it's like maybe that 7-8 games will get him ready for the playoffs, and it's like you see a different player come out, right? This is also a guy who's played in a bunch of high-pressure situations recently. They made the finals last year in the NCAA. They ended up losing the quarters this year, but I mean, fuck, dude, Denver's got them locked down. He's won back-to-back World Juniors. He was the captain. This guy has been under pressure a lot recently, dude. So I have no issue putting this guy in the lineup in the playoffs. Like, I would be more shocked than not if he was scratched. But let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think you're nailing it on the head, man. I think he's going to have a massive impact on this Washington Capitals team. And as you said, just for the reason that he can play the style where he can be up in the top 6, getting points, being physical, but also if he's not getting those points, he can still be in the lineup, maybe in the third line, just playing that physical role, getting in on the forecheck, laying the body, getting in on scrums, right? I think he's going to have a massive impact for Washington here. Leonard's BC line mate, Gabe Perreault, he signed an entry-level deal with the New York Rangers. Mark, for me, this one was a little bit surprising. I thought he was going to go back to college for another season, to be honest. How did you feel about it, though? Were you surprised at all by this or no?
No, I thought he was going to sign 100%, dude.
You did?
But he's a bit different. I think that if the Rangers did get in, he's not going to really be playing in the playoffs, to be honest with you. Yeah. I'm not that convinced that he's NHL ready. I think he's got some mechanics that he needs to work on, especially his skating. And I think especially if you're stepping into a team like the Rangers who have expectations to win. And let's be honest, dude, the Rangers haven't been very good at like allowing their players to develop in the NHL. Yeah. Right? Like Laugh's development hasn't been very good. Seems like since he signed that extension, he's been like non-existent, dude. It's fucking crazy. Kako, I mean, like he's looking better in Seattle, but it's like they didn't really give him the proper timeline and put him in the right situations in New York, I think. So it's like I really believe that Gabe Perreault needs a year in the AHL. Like, I have no issue with him coming in and playing these games now. I think it's basically promised when they sign their ELC. But it's like, if they do get in, I don't think he's going to play. Like, I don't think he's going to play at all. Yeah. Unless bearing an injury.
Yeah, I don't think he's playing, man. That's just kind of why I was surprised that he signed, maybe, because it's like, do you really want to...
You really thought he was going to stay, though, after, like, Leonard and Smith went? Like, I just thought he's going to the AHL. Like, that was my thing.
For me, I guess the reason why I was just more thinking he'd stay is because, like, it's one thing signing and going to the NHL, but it's like, okay, you're burning a year off your ELC, right? So then we both think he should be playing in the AHL next year, right? Like, I think that's probably where he should be playing. If he's playing in the AHL all next year, then it's like when it comes time to get re-upped on your deal in the summer, it's like your whole sample size was the 5 games you played this year and an AHL season, right? So you're not really helping yourself out contract wise, I guess there, which is
I think that's why the Rangers didn't mind doing it though, because they're looking at his contract in 2.5 years down the line, saying like he's probably not going to be asking for much, even if he's in the NHL that last season of the ELC. Right? Like it's I don't think it's a huge risk for them to take, because it's like I just think that it's like it's going to be a cheap number. Like okay, say he plays the rest of this year. Say the Rangers don't make the playoffs. He plays the rest of the games. Goes to the AHL next year. Say in 26-27 he's ready for the NHL. His last year was ELC. Even if he puts up like 30 points, it's like, what is he going to ask for? Like a 3x3? Like it's like I don't see him breaking the bank. So I think it's like more jury's looking at it like, if we gave him like an ATO for the rest of the year, he goes to Hartford and then gets his ELC starts next year and it's 3 years, maybe that extra year he pops off that last year and then we got to pay him a ton. You know what I mean? So for a guy that's like, I would say is not NHL ready, I would say this is a pretty positive thing for the Rangers.
Yeah, I like it for the Rangers. I more just think for Perreault, it's kind of a bit iffy where it's like, if he's not popping off on that last year in the NHL, then contract-wise, it is going to kind of...
So do you think he should have stayed in college or signed like they call it an ATO, where you're just on a tryout the rest of the year in the AHL, but you're on the team, and then your ELC starts next year? Would you have done that? Like just gone right to the A and then have your ELC start next year?
See, I probably would have done that, or gone back to college for another year.
Because the thing is with college though too is like, what if Hagens gets drafted high and leaves? Then it's like, who the fuck are you playing with?
See, I can get that point, but on the other side of that, you have the whole CHL players able to play now, right? So like we could see Boston College come out and sign a bunch of guys from the C, right? Because I think after this NHL draft, we're going to really start to see like it really form for the big guys, because we haven't really. I guess Lidstrom now is the first one to go sign NCAA, where he's like a top 10 draft pick, right? But I think after this year's draft, we're going to really start to see how it's going to work for the top NCHL guys and the NCAA, where it's kind of working out there. But like Boston College, at the end of the day, they have a great program, and I don't think there's too much of a worry about them getting talent if Perreault was to go back, right? And
no, I know. I just wonder though too, if it's like, you got to think about it from his shoes. Like his two best buddies are gone. Like, is his heart still there? You know what I mean? Or is he like kind of moved on? You know what I mean? So it's like, does he want to go back and be not miserable, but maybe he wouldn't enjoy it nearly as much, right? So maybe he's just kind of like, I'm ready to go pro. I've done this for 2 years. Like, unfortunately, we couldn't win it all, but I mean, I'm kind of ready for the next chapter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's fair. I get that. And I guess the other thing too is like, I don't know how the whole NIL thing works for Boston College, but he probably does maybe want to get his hands on a little bit of that signing bonus, right?
For sure.
Let's move on and talk about one of the last bigger signings over the past week or so out of the NCAA. It's Adar Sunyev. He was a third-round pick in 2023, and this season he had 38 points in 35 games in the NCAA. He's signing with the Calgary Flames, of course. He was a Flames draft pick. Mark, was this surprising at all for you or no?
A little bit, to be honest, but I wouldn't argue that like it's a bad thing at all. I'd say he's kind of in the same situation as Perreault, where I'm not necessarily convinced he's ready for the NHL right now, even though he's going to get some games to end the season. But I think a year with the Wranglers would probably benefit him a ton. And I don't think there's any real... Like, what is the real rush to put him in the NHL next year, dude? Like, you know, I don't think there's really any rush, man. Like, it's like he's a 20-goal scorer. He was playing with Bradley Nadeau in Penticton a couple years ago in his draft year. Yep. He didn't really get talked about a lot because Nadeau had a ton of points, right? But I think that Suniev had like 90-something points when Penticton that year.
90 points, 45 goals, 45 assists in 50 games.
Yeah, like that's a hell of a year, dude. But it's just like, and the thing was, Nadeau's brother was there too, right? At the time, even though he's not drafted, he was taking up some of the spotlight. So you guys got that pick in the Toffoli trade, dude. So Sharon Govich and Suniev for 1 year Toffoli. Like, I'd say you guys win that trade 100%. I think that he could probably come into the lineup. I would say his projection is more of like a middle of the lineup player that could probably get popped up to the top 6 and not look out of place. But I'm not really 100% convinced he's like a true top 6 winger going forward. But hey, dude, for a fucking 3rd round pick, man, like that's a hell of a pick, especially, honestly, it probably even looks better if he continues this goal scoring. Like, what if he's a 20-25 goal scorer every single season, dude? Like, you're not going to hate that pick at all.
No, I'd love that. That's where I'm looking at it. Like, yeah, it is maybe a little bit surprising just because he's not fully NHL ready, but I think the thing with him, though, is I think since he was a 3rd round pick, since he's not this, like, A-tier prospect or A-chip prospect like the Perreaults or the Leonards or even the Jimmy Snuggerud, I think there's a bit more of a question mark of what his future is. But I do think realistically he probably is more of like a middle of the lineup winger, but I do think there is that potential for him to be a 25, 30 goal scorer playing on the second, maybe even first line. That's why I think the Flames honestly really wanted to get him signed and get him in, is just to see what they have, to be honest. I think the Flames, because at this point, we talked about it just a few minutes ago, the Flames at this point, they're not really making the playoffs, right? And what has their biggest issue been this year? It's probably been their lack of goal scoring. This guy can score goals. This guy can score goals, right? So the Flames, they probably want to see what they have in him and what he can maybe be in the NHL. So if you get a 7-game sample size here, that's awesome. Let the guy go, continue to get better over the summer, and then come back for training camp and see if he's improved. And yeah, I agree with you, Mark. Probably next year he should be playing in the AHL, but hey, if he comes in the NHL here, has a good 7 games, improves over the summer, and comes into training camp and has a really strong training camp, like, I think there could be a possibility that maybe is in the Flames lineup next year.
And when I say with these guys like Snuggerud and Perreault and Suniev that I don't think they're NHL ready, there's no fucking issue with having them play these rest of the games this season. Just because you're not NHL ready doesn't mean you don't deserve a sample size in the NHL. Like, yeah, I'm just more thinking long term, like, you might see this guy up there this year and then next year he's not there. You know what I mean? So yeah. I think it's perfect for a team like this. It's like, dude, fuck, let your prospect play, see what he can do. Okay, internally, yeah, they're let's be real. The Flames aren't like, okay, we're missing the playoffs. Like, they're going to fight till the end until they're out, right? So it's like he's going to go into a situation which is really intense too, right? Dude, have you seen this guy's hockey DB, though? He's had quite the path. Like, he's born in Russia, played in 2021 in Russia, then came to Canada to play at St. Andrews College. Then he plays for Thorold in the GOJ. Then he goes out west to Penticton, and then commits to UMass and signs there. Like, he's had a pretty interesting career path so far, and he's kind of traveled around a lot being a Russian guy. Seems, honestly, dude, I think that's probably the better path than him than staying in Russia. Like, I think that he may have been a later pick even if he was playing in the MHL at the time.
Well, he even played at a couple other academies too before he went to St. Andrews. I see he played at Yale as a U15.
Okay.
Played the Hill Academy, and then he played 1 year of St. Andrews, went back to Russia for 6 games for SKA Moscow, and came back.
I think that was the COVID year, though.
Yep. Yeah, 2021, yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of moving, man. I hope you got a good suitcase for that. Yeah.
Well, you could also just say in a positive point, like maybe him coming over to Calgary, regardless if it's the Flames or Wranglers, might not be not a big adjustment for him. But if he's used to going around everywhere, like, you know what I mean? And maybe it's not as big of a deal to him.
And like finally having some time to get settled, right? Because unless he gets traded tomorrow or something, he's going to have 3 years at least with the Wranglers or the Flames. And They're in the same city, so it's not like if he's getting called up and down, he's going from Bakersfield to Edmonton, right? Because it's a whole other story.
Yeah.
Now that we've gone through the sort of bigger signings outside of the NCAA, there's still a lot of talent and players to sign from around the NCAA. Some players were drafted, some are free agents because they were never drafted. Mark, first question for you is, are there any players that I guess have signed that didn't get the love that you want to give some love to, or no?
Yeah, sure. One guy who's not going to be stepping into the big club right away, but Trevor Connolly signed with Vegas. He was a first-round pick last year. I think he was 19th overall. He signed an ATO, so he's going to Henderson for the rest of the year, and then his ELC starting next year. I think that's more of Vegas saying, like, hey, dude, we're in the thick of things here, trying to clinch this division. Like, you're not going to get any games. It's probably going to benefit you more if you go down to the minors, play those games. Maybe you'll be good enough to make the team next year, right? So he's one guy I'm keeping my eye on. In net, I don't really know what's happening with Jacob Fowler right now. There seems to be negotiations going on with the Habs. I heard apparently Fowler wants to sign his ELC right now and be on the Habs roster. Meanwhile, the Habs want him to sign an ATO, go to Laval the rest of the year, and have his ELC start next year. Yeah. I'm not really too sure how this is going to play out. And then obviously the third option is he stays at Boston College another season. I'm not too sure how much him staying another year will benefit him. I did see, though, that Jeremy Swayman, Jake Ottinger, and Connor Hellebuck all stayed in college for 3 years before they signed. I don't know if that's got anything to do with it. Obviously, those are three pretty good goalies. The thing with Fowler is I think Montreal's telling him, like, dude, you can sign and come to the NHL, but, like, we can't play you right now, dude. Like, we can't put you in this situation, like, to play you, right? Like, as much as I love Jacob Fowler and what he could bring for the future, I'm sorry, I'd prefer Sam Montembeault in net right now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that's no slight to Fowler. It's just, like, I don't think you can bring a guy in and put him in that kind of situation right away. And the thing, too, that I don't understand is that, think about goalies, dude, okay? Like, they take longer to develop. You look at Dustin Wolf, right? He runs through his ELC. He re-signs on a one-way deal, but it's only $850,000 a year. So it's like at the end of the season, going into the summer, he can re-up, which will not kick in next year. So what I'm saying is, if you were Fowler, wouldn't you not prefer your ELC to slide an extra year, so you get 3 full years starting next year? You could probably argue that by the end of that, he will 100% be an NHL goalie, and he might be able to make more money on his next contract instead of burning the rest of the year. And then, to be honest, I think he's probably still going to Laval next year. Yeah. And then it's like you're going to the last year of your ELC, and you're not going to probably, like, break the bank. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's different with goalies, dude. They take extra time, and you see a lot of these guys come off their ELC, and then they don't make a lot. It's like a really, like Dostal right now. He makes like $800K, and he's on his second contract, right? Joel Hofer, same thing. It happens with all these goalies all the time. So it's like, I get Fowler probably wants to be in the NHL, but I would argue it's probably better to put him in. Dude, Laval's in a really good fucking situation right now, dude. Like, he could go on a run and win the Calder Cup. You know what I mean? Like, Carey Price spent time in the AHL. Like, I don't think that spending time in the AHL as a goaltender is a bad thing. But I get also, if you're like, dude, I put up a .940 save percentage in college this year, like, I should get an NHL game. You know what I mean? But it's a tough situation. If the Habs were out of it right now, maybe they'd sign him and start him 3-4 games the rest of the year. But I don't think you can do that right now.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I was going to ask you about the Jacob Fowler thing, and I think it is best for him to sign in some sort of form, but I don't think it's best for him to be in the NHL right now. Just because...
Yeah.
And the other thing, too, is, like, how... Like, you don't want to be burning bridges before you've even, like, fucking played a game, right, with this team. It's like, how are the guys in the locker room going to respond to that? When they're told that, oh, we have this rookie goalie coming and he's playing tonight, Hopefully he doesn't shit the bed, because if he does, that's our playoffs chances just gone, right? It's like we all know Laine kind of has a. I mean, I don't want to say he's a temper, but he's definitely not afraid to say what he wants, right? Like, how is Laine going to react to that? A rookie goalie coming in and starting a game that decides if you're making the playoffs or not. I don't think that's a lot of players in the locker room are going to.
And it's like, it's not like he's not going to be on the ice or anything like that, but I would just argue, like, Laval is firmly in a playoff spot. Montreal's not. If he signs with Montreal, he can't get sent down to Laval after, because you can't play in the playoffs unless you're under contract at the trade deadline. That's why guys sign like the ATO, quote unquote. Yeah. So it's like, if he does come up, say he doesn't play a game the rest of the year with the Habs, they miss the playoffs, he can't go down to Laval. Like, you know what I mean? So I don't know. Like, I guess we'll see how it plays out. I hope it turns out okay. Maybe at the end of the day, Montreal's just like, you know what? Maybe it's better if you go back for another year, and then we'll kind of deal with this next year. But it doesn't seem like it has anything to do with him not wanting to be there. He seems like he kind of wants to be there, to be honest with you. On the other hand, I don't know if you saw Augustine. He's not signing this year. He's going back to MSU for another year.
I was going to ask you.
I don't know about him, dude. I think this actually might be the right decision. I think it's a kind of a different situation than Fowler. Detroit is really confusing me about what their plan is for their goaltending going forward. Like, that Mrazek trade just fucking mind-boggled me, more because he's under contract next season. So is Cam Talbot. I was 100% convinced this year that Kosa was going to go in the NHL next year. I'm not sure that's the case. Augustine's probably looking at it and saying, you got Talbot, you got Mrazek. That means Kosa's not going to the NHL. And would you not argue Kosa's probably going to get the majority of the starts in Grand Rapids? Like, Augustine's going to be sitting there not developing.
Yep.
So I actually think it's a different situation than Fowler, but I think Augustine made the right choice.
Yeah, I'm all in with that. I completely agree, dude. They got such a logjam in net right now. Like, unless something changes and somebody gets moved, there's no shot for him to even hardly play in the AHL, let alone the NHL, right? So it's why would you sign, man? And I think it's also gonna be interesting to see what they do. If even maybe they end up trading one of these guys in Augustine or Kosa, right? Like, we saw Florida when they had Knight and Levi, they ended up moving off of one of them. It's kind of a similar situation with Kosa and Augustine right now. I wonder if Stevie Y decides maybe in the summer to use one of those assets and improve the roster in front of his goaltenders. Mark, I think. Go ahead. Sorry,
I was gonna say. I don't know. There's a couple other guys I wanted to mention that like haven't even been eliminated yet. Yeah. So it's like we could see them signing. One, Denver, Zeev Buium. I think he's 1,000% signing his ELC once Denver's done. I think he's also stepping right into the Minnesota Wild lineup and playing with them in the playoffs, just like Ryan Leonard is. Defense is a little bit trickier. We might see him in and out of the lineup. I think this guy's absolutely electric. I can't believe he fell to 12th overall last year. I think that him and Brock Faber on the blue line for the next fucking decade for the Wild is going to be an absolute force in that top pair. I think with Zeev Buium's offensive instincts and Brock Faber, he can be offensive. He's more of a reliable defensive defenseman, but I think that them together is going to be a great pairing. Obviously, I don't think that's going to happen this year, right in the playoffs. But keep an eye on Zeev Buium. I think he's 100% playing in the NHL this year. One other guy does not get a lot of love. I mentioned his name earlier. Alex Bump plays for Western Michigan, a 5th-round pick by the Flyers in 2022. This guy's 6 foot tall. Dude, this fucking guy is a bulldog. The Flyers fans are going to absolutely love this guy. I think he's signing his ELC instantly right after he's done playing the rest of the year at the Flyers, and I think he's starting next year in Philadelphia. Okay. I think he's going to be a middle-of-the-lineup type player. I don't know if he's going to get to that kind of top 6 potential because of scoring. I think you might look at him and he's going to be a 30 to 40 to maybe 30 to 50 point scorer down the road. But I think it's a guy that you're going to love to have on your team. Just an absolute bulldog out there. Dude, he made such huge strides with Western Michigan this year. He was about a point per game last year, but he ended up scoring 23 goals in 40 games this year. I think he's only 21 still. I think he's 100% signing with the Flyers at the end of this year. And I would argue he's a top 5 player outside the NHL that's not in the NHL. Not potential-wise, but I would say in accordance to being NHL ready, he is one of the most NHL ready players that's not in the NHL. Like I wouldn't be surprised if this guy doesn't play a single game in the AHL.
I mean, honestly, Philly's not scared of that either. We saw it with Luchenko.
And to be honest with you, dude, the thing that sucks is Torts would have fucking loved this guy.
Yeah.
I don't know about any other guys really though. Like I think like we're talking about BU. Honestly, as good as he's been, I see Cole Hudson staying another year.
Yeah.
I don't think he's coming out this year. And then I guess like Quinn Hudson's he's a free agent. He's looked pretty good, dude. I think some team is going to try and sign him. It might be like an ATO and then like an ELC starts next year. But he's made some pretty good strides over the last couple of seasons. I think he's going to be not like a hot commodity, but I think that you might look at him as like a fourth liner in the future. But I mean, if you can get for free though, like, I mean, why wouldn't you take that opportunity?
Yeah, he was top 10 this year in scoring around the NCAA. Like, I think there's going to be teams that look at it and also look at the family, right? Like, there's 2 brothers, and they're like, hey, like, well, let's get this guy in here and see what his potential is, because maybe he's a late bloomer, like fucking
100%.
Lane and Cole have been, right?
Dude, think about all the off seasons, dude, and even throughout, like, he's skating with his brothers all the fucking time, right? So, sorry, go ahead.
There's one more player I do want to ask you about, Isaac Howard.
Right.
What do you think goes on with them?
I don't know. I kind of think that I think Tampa is probably saying kind of the same thing Vegas is with Connolly. Like, you might not play if you come. So maybe that's him taking time to like make a decision if he wants to go back. Like, but also maybe he's looking at it like, I could go back and then I'll be so ready for the NHL next year. And Augustine's going back. We're going to get Caden Lindstrom. Like, we're already a good fucking team. Like, we could go and potentially like win it next year. But I don't know. There's still a little bit of, it's a little bit up in the air. It's not like confirmed he's going back. It's the same thing with Fowler. There's been no word of what the actual decision is leaning towards. But yeah, I don't really know, man. Like, that's a tough one.
The one I find the most interesting, though, with Isaac Howard is, I believe if he does go back to college for another season, he does become a free agent.
No, I don't think that's right, dude, because I think he was only drafted 2 years ago. Let me see.
Well, yeah,
he's in 04.
2022 he was drafted.
I mean, I think you're actually right. He could technically be a free agent at the end of the year next year. I mean, which is pretty scary for Tampa, but I'd probably argue that at worst, like, Tampa can get some good value for him if they do trade him and he doesn't sign. But thing is, he's kind of got a little bit of like a he seems like he's got a little bit of an ego, the kid.
Howard?
Yeah, so it's like, maybe if they don't sign him, he kind of takes like the Cutter Gauthier approach. I didn't realize he was drafted 3 years ago. I thought it was only 2. So, I mean, yeah, he went to Minnesota Duluth that first year, right? He wasn't very good and transferred. Maybe, dude. I didn't really think about it that way because I was thinking that he had an additional year.
Maybe he does have an additional year?
No, I think you're actually right, dude. If he's a 2022 pick and he was playing in the development program, this is his 3rd year in college and 3rd year outside, and they only have the rights for 4 years.
If he goes back, he'd be a senior next year.
I also didn't realize he had 52 points this year. I thought he was more around a point per game, but like, as much as he might be close to NHL ready, I just don't know if the Lightning are going to do that. Because think about the Lightning, dude. Like, Connor Geekie played most of the year there, and they sent him down because they didn't really like how he's playing the NHL. So it's like, maybe they're just saying to Howard, like, dude, you're not going to play in the NHL, like, or you're not going to play in the playoffs. Like, before we move on, honestly, when you said I got one more guy, I got one more guy too. One guy I'm keeping my eye on is Denver goalie Matt Davis. What a fucking performance last year for them to win the national championship. He is shutting guys down again, dude. He's letting 1 goal on 75 shots against Boston College in the last 2 NCAA championships. He seems like he's an absolute game. Dude, this is a crazy stat. He's played 6 NCAA games, like in the whatever the hell you want to call it, the final 16. The past 2 years, played 6 games. He hasn't let in more than a single goal in any game.
Damn.
He's a free agent. I think that after, I don't know if you saw the Rangers signed a goalie out of, where is it? Penn State, maybe? His name's Callum Tung.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
21 years old. I think that Matt Davis is 100% getting signed. I'm not too sure about what his overall upside would be, considering he's a little bit older. You might be looking at it like a potential 1B backup type, but it's hard to find goalies, dude. And if you can get them for free. Dude, search up that Callum Tung guy, dude. He played in the PJHL 2 years ago. He was in the BCHL last year, and he played in the NCAA this year, and he had a .933, and then the Rangers just signed him.
Yeah, he played BC. He played in the VIJHL. Port Alberni.
Sorry, the VIJ.
I've heard of them once or twice. Yeah, then he played for Alberni Valley. Well, he played in the BC after the VI and then went back to the PJHL because then he went to North Vancouver Wolfpack and Port Moody, then went back to Alberni, had a .917 with them. Yeah, this year with UConn, .933 and a 201 goals against average.
My only thing with him is, like, I'm kind of surprised he left. Maybe it was the only time he'd get an offer, but the one thing I don't really know, dude, overall is, like, everyone's like, holy shit, this guy's, like, going to be sick. I'm like, dude, like, as good as he was, like, he started 15 games. Like, he wasn't even a starting goalie in the NCAA. Like, let's tone it back a little bit here. Like, give the guy some credit, but it's like, but if you start playing Jacob Fowler fucking minutes, like, you might not have a .933. Like, you know what I mean? But to be honest, though, dude, like, what if he didn't have a good year next year? Maybe this is the year where it's like, I can fucking sign and potentially go pro. You know what I mean? So it's like, I can't really blame the kid for giving it a shot. You know what I mean? But I think it's a little premature that, like, dude, I heard 12 teams were after this guy. And you know who his second choice was, apparently? The Flames. It came down to the Rangers and Flames.
All right, we don't need them. We got Wolf.
Well, to be honest, too, I don't know if you've heard, he plays, is it UConn? His goal, Arseny Sergeyev. You guys drafted him a couple years ago. Sergeyev. I don't know what his name is. Goes to Penn State. Dude, this guy made some huge development pass this year with Penn State. 9-18 and 32 starts. I honestly think that in about 3 or 4 years, it's going to be a Wolf-Sergeyev tandem in Calgary.
I'll take it, man. I'll take it. Anything to help out the Flames having a bright future, man. Is been
for sure
for the last couple of years.
I don't know about, like, any other NCAA guys, to be quite honest with you, that, like, I've really got my eye on for signing. Like, Michael Hage is going back to Michigan for another year. Cole Hudson, I mean, he's not out yet. He's probably going back for another year. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There was a couple guys at BC that I think might have left, like a Ram Minitian with Dallas, but some of these guys that aren't as big prospects are kind of just like almost like want to play it out and maybe go all 4 years and then sign, you know, or spend that extra year. Like, it's not for everyone, right? It's just like Ryan Leonard, you'd argue, was pretty close to even NHL ready after he was drafted, I'd argue. He probably just needed like one more year, and he probably could have stepped in this year and been fine. But you look at other guys, right? They kind of need like that 3-4 years to actually develop, get better, and then sign, you know?
Yeah, and the other thing, too, about the NCAA signing is same with free agency, right? You have all the big dogs kind of fall first, and then you have that second wave of players who maybe were teams' second options, stuff like that. I'd imagine there's still a dozen or so maybe signings we'll see coming out of the NCAA here within the next couple days or week or so. Overall, though, that's going to wrap up the show. We covered a fair bit today. From everything from the OV goal chase to the wild card races to all these NCAA signings, and man, there's been a lot. We'll be back next week, probably talking about more of the wild card race. We'll probably have a lot more clear of a picture by then, and we'll even have some playoff matchups along. So stay tuned for that, because we'll be talking about that next week. For everybody listening in this episode, thanks for listening in.